And thank you all for being here this evening. We'll begin our agenda work session. We are attempting to set the agenda for the regular council meeting of December 8th, 2016. Janet, if we could have the roll call.
Mayor Lambert.
Here.
Vice Mayor Gray.
Here.
Councilmember Cagle.
Here.
Councilmember Manning.
Here.
Councilmember Stoll.
Here.
City Manager Miller.
Here.
City Attorney Noel.
Here. Living on a prayer.
Came in there just in time.
All right.
I thought we'd have a great election.
Well, it is always good to see our friend Jason Martin here, Anderson McCullough. Jason, if you wouldn't mind coming up here to the microphones at the front.
Thank you, guys. We always appreciate auditing the city of East Ridge, and we're glad to be of service to the city. So, is it on? Hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, several things in East Ridge this year moving forward that I think you guys really need to pay attention to financially. One thing is the state pension plan. Last year, auditing standards changed and reporting requirements changed for how you report pension plans. And what it did was you guys participated in the state's plan overall. And so they used to change your rate, your percentage of payroll that you pay into the pension plan every other year. Now they're doing it every single year. And so what we're seeing is that those rates are going up. So, but it's something you have absolutely no control over. You participate in the state's plan, so they give you all a rate to pay, and you pay it, and that's how your employees are. That's your employees' retirement plan. So, really, just going on the circuit, telling all of our governments that we work with to pay attention to your rate and plan accordingly, because it probably will go up. I know this past year they gave governments the option to contribute more because they anticipated that the markets were not going to do well this year, which was going to drop that rate up. So, so you can look for that to go up, kind of moving forward, to make sure that you plan accordingly for that. So some of them are going up, 2%, 3%, but with your payroll size, that could be pretty healthy for you. So just pay attention to that. This year's audit, you did receive a clean opinion this year that the financial statements that are before you, they are materially correct. We didn't find any material errors in those. We didn't have any material adjustments this year. Several years ago, we started working with Diane, and that was always a comment to the council, is that we were making material entries throughout our audit, but this year we didn't have any material entries, so we felt comfortable that the information you've been given throughout the years, you're making decisions based on accurate information. So how did you guys do this year? If you would turn to page 12, we can get started really going through your balance sheet, just to get a good feel for how healthy you guys are. You've had some very big investments over the past 2 years. Bass Pro Shop came in. You guys contributed a lot of money. You took out some debt for that. So you guys made a pretty big investment in the city's future. So just to give you guys a snapshot, if you look at page 12, your general fund, that's your major operating fund. The rest of the funds there, they statutorily have to be there. They're healthy, but the general fund is how you all operate. That really gives you a picture of how healthy East Ridge is. So if you look there, your total assets are at $11 million, and that includes, just for the general fund, that includes your cash, and the big portion of that is your property tax receivable that's out there. you have a few liabilities that are there for this purpose, and then you have a deferral, which is similarly a liability, but it's notated differently there per standards. And then you get to fund balance, and that's always a discussion, fund balance. And your unassigned fund balance, meaning it's your unreserved fund balance, that's at $5.4 million. And so just to give you a picture on what that looks like overall, when you look at the general fund on page 15, page 15 starts kind of your income statement, your income and all your expenses by functional categories there. The total expenses for the year in the general fund was $10.5 million. Now, all the research and the experts that are in government, they suggest that 20% fund balance is very healthy. So you would have 20% of this $8,000 number, this $2 million number, which is about $2 million. That's what your fund balance needs to be considered healthy. You guys are at 5.4 million, so that's about half, 50%. So in theory, what that means is that, and I'm not suggesting this at all, but the city of East Ridge, if you guys didn't collect any revenues for 6 months, you still could operate the city. So it's kind of like if you equate that to personally, you have enough equity personally, or enough savings personally to operate 6 months. Well, the experts out there say that 2 months is great. 2 months is kind of the standard. You guys are at 6 months. So that's pretty healthy for East Ridge, and the goal is to keep it there and to grow it even. And so overall, back to page 12 and 13, your cash position, total cash in the city at year end was $7.4 million. So you all spent a ton of cash over the past couple of years, and you're at $7.4 million. And so 2 years ago, you guys set up a capital projects fund to try to fund future capital needs for the city. And so that balance that's there is $1 million. So you have about $1 million reserved away for future capital projects, which I always recommend governments do. So the next big thing is, how do you all compare against your budget? And that's on page 18. And your budget, that's council's spending plan. You guys go through a lengthy budget process every single year. And that's what the council recommends, and that's how the council votes, and the citizens' input on that. But that's your spending plan. So if you take a look, and your budget's changed throughout the year, situations change, funding situations change, expenses come up. You guys do alter your budget to accommodate those. So if you take a look, just on the revenue side, your final budget was $12.8 billion. You came in at $12.7 billion. So you were about 115 shy of your revenue projections. But if you look at the expense side, you all budgeted $11.1 million to be spent overall. That's in that final budget column. But you all spent $10.5 million, so you were ahead there almost $600,000. And if you take into consideration your transfers, your budget, you actually were ahead of your budget by $608,000 for the year. So management adhered to your spending plan, and that's always important. You all set a spending plan, management has to carry out that spending plan, and so they were ahead of your spending plan by $608,000 for the year. And so those are the highlights for this fiscal year. Several things to reiterate. I think, pay attention to your pension rate moving forward, because it will go up. There's no question about it. Markets aren't going to get any better. So they're not seeing the returns that they thought they were going to see. So pay attention to your pension rate. And the goal moving forward is you guys have made a ton of investment in the city. And so to keep those reserves where they are for planned circumstances, because nobody wants to go back to 2011 when you had tornadoes and you have to figure out how to fund that mass cleanup effort. You don't have resources. So with that, any questions for me in this past fiscal year?
If I may, provided. I believe the last time we had, our bond rating, I believe was single A or double A. Would it benefit us to try to get a triple A?
Attempt to be re-rated?
Yes.
Well, I think that's always an option. I think you weigh the cost. And that would be a factor of if you're planning on refunding your bonds, which are you gonna refinance your debt? If that's the case, you look at the cost versus spending to get that rating.
Right.
Versus what you're gonna save with the lower interest rate. But I would encourage at least to look into that process to see if it makes sense.
Well, the reason I ask is we're going to have to, we've talked about issuing bonds for
We're gonna
these
have to
capital projects. So how long does it take to apply for a new paper? Is it
Probably 3 or 4 months,
okay?
Last one took about 3 months.
3 or 4 months.
I go back to, would it be beneficial for us to try to do that? And I'm not looking for an answer tonight. This is strictly for discussion and something, for the staff to take a look at and come back to us with a
Yeah.
recommendation at the next council meeting possibly.
Well, yes, Jason mentioned, we have to check with our financial advisors to see where we stand in that realm. I've done that several times over the years. You gotta look at the payments to get that higher bond rate
Cost versus return.
versus your return on what your interest is going to go down. Is it gonna be 2.1 or 1.95 or 1.88, whatever? It's gonna come down substantially. It's worth doing that exercise.
At least taking a look at it.
Yeah, but we are gonna be involved with a bond issue, at least on exit one.
Right.
Goes behind getting started.
No, we can go ahead and look at upgrading the city's bond rate, we can do that.
Thanks.
Jason, I was gonna say, I appreciate the outstanding job you and your firm have done.
Thank you.
And your sidekick keep you straight. So I said that about her, I appreciate it. Everything y'all done.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Okay, next time there will be a presentation from Tennessee American Water, a firefighter assistance grant for $500, and also the Christmas Parade Awards. Moving down to the items of old business potentially for second and final reading, ordinance 1021 regarding hotel and motel, change to the ordinance 922, minimum requirements for hotels and motels. Again, that was tabled the last time. It is on the agenda for tonight. If we would like to remove it from the table and take action on it, that's an option that will be available to us during the regular council meeting. Item B would be ordinance 1023, which again could be before us for second and final reading, depending on what action takes place tonight. That is regarding an occupational safety and health program. You want to say something about it? Diane looks like she wants to say something. So.
Yes, sir, there will be a request tonight from the police department regarding a purchase from the federal forfeiture fund. And if y'all approve that, we will need to start the budget amendment at the next council meeting.
Okay, and that would be item A under new business for potentially budget amendment. Okay. The last thing would be an unnumbered resolution for approval of a a site access agreement with Southeast Tennessee Development District regarding the Brownfield Grant Program.
Right. Yeah, Amanda, why don't you come up and give us an update on this? She's been working on this assessment deal with our school next door to us, to the west.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I've been doing some research off and on every time it catches my eye about brownfield grants. And at first I didn't think that McBride would qualify. I think a brownfield is a field that's brown or has a, be an industrial field that wants held industry or chemicals or something like that. But it can be used for buildings that have asbestos and you have to mitigate those if you decide to remodel or if you decide to tear it down. I'd come across one grant that would, do some of that for us. However, when I was talking to Southeast Development District about it, they actually have a grant themselves. They applied for money from the EPA, and they have money that they will fund 100% to do phase 1 and phase 2 of the mitigation process, and as well as come up with a plan for us. And we would have to do this no matter what we do. So if we decide to update McBride, if we decide to tear it down, we still have to do this first. So this is 100% free money. They would help us with the paperwork. So it's recommended to go ahead and use the Southeast Tennessee Development District funds. And they'd actually planned on doing a project with McBride Elementary School. So they have until 2018 to spend their funds. And if this is something you all want to start looking at, we can go ahead and get this process done now so that we will be ready maybe at the next budget to, if you already have a plan in mind, before then we can get ready to fund it. So that's just what this is to get this process started by doing the mitigation plan.
Very good. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Nice work.
Anytime we get free money,
Right, especially for something that we have to do regardless. Excellent. All right. Well, Mr. Manning, do you have anything for us?
just want to say, let's pray for all of our farming and our fishing, and pray for Star and all the other people, the other cities, man. Just pray for all of them, and these hurt.
Exactly.
I really appreciate all of them.
Yes, sir. Mr. Super. Go ahead. Okay.
I noticed the two newly elected people are here, I'd like to congratulate them. And I also noticed on the news tonight, we had a fire engine sitting up there on the news showing that they were up there helping fight the fire. So, and I understand FEMA is gonna pay back some of that manpower cost.
Very good. Sir. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Nothing at this time.
All right. I just want to, echo what Mr. Cagle said. Congratulations to Mr. Helton and Brian Williams, but also thank you to everyone who put themselves out there to run. Mr. Glopper, Mr. Shipley. It's not an easy process to go through an election, and so you have my personal thanks for, again, making the effort to get yourself out there to do it, to serve your community. All right. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything?
Not at this time.
Okay. Well, then we will adjourn this agenda work session, and in about 7 or 8 minutes, we will start our regular council meeting.